A very good afternoon to everyone. Today we will study about oligosaccharides and polysaccharides. Oligosaccharides are those carbohydrates which have 3 or more than 3 residues. In oligosaccharides we will study about disaccharides. Disaccharides are those carbohydrates which have 2 monomeric subunits or the monomeric carbohydrate residues or molecules. The disaccharides are most abundantly present oligosaccharides on the earth, and these disaccharides are stable because of the glycosidic bond. Now, what is a glycosidic bond? A glycosidic bond is a bond that is formed between the anomeric carbon of a monomeric subunit and the oxygen atom of an alcohol. Let's take one monosaccharide and one alcohol molecule. Then oxygen of this alcohol and the anomeric carbon number 1 forms a bond, and when this bond is formed, it makes a disaccharide or an oligosaccharide stable for further consideration. Coming to the example of disaccharide. Disaccharide is the most common or abundant oligosaccharide present on the earth, having 2 subunits and they are bonded with the glycosidic bond. Let's take the example of maltose. Maltose is a disaccharide and it has 2 subunits of alpha glucose, where the glycosidic bond is formed between the first anomeric carbon of the alpha glucose and the 4th carbon of the second alpha glucose monomeric unit. When 2 molecules of alpha glucose come together, then a water molecule is removed and then glycosidic bond is formed between the anomeric carbon first of the alpha glucose and the 4th carbon of the second molecule of the alpha glucose, and this bond is called as alpha 1,4 glycosidic bond because the monomeric subunits have a configuration of alpha and the anomeric carbons that are involved here are 1st and 4th of the second monomeric unit. So a maltose molecule is a disaccharide. It has alpha 1,4 glycosidic bond and it is made up of 2 molecules of alpha glucose. Now let's take this second example, that is sucrose. Sucrose is made up of D-glucose and D-fructose. D-glucose is a hexameric cyclic structure and D-fructose is a pentameric cyclic structure. During glycosidic bond formation, the alpha carbon present at the first position or the first anomeric carbon of D-glucose makes a glycosidic bond with the anomeric carbon present at the 4th position of a D-fructose molecule. When this bond is formed, it is called as alpha 1,2 beta glycosidic bond because the D-glucose has alpha configuration and D-fructose has a beta configuration, and it is called as the alpha 1,2 beta glycosidic bond. If we hydrolyze this sucrose molecule with hot acid, then it again forms its monomeric units by the addition of a water molecule and it gives D-glucose and D-fructose. Thus the disaccharides are the most abundant and they are a part of oligosaccharides having 3 or more than 3 monomeric subunits. The best example include maltose and sucrose that are present in our diet. Now let's start with polysaccharide. Polysaccharide means poly means many, saccharide means carbohydrates. When a number of monomeric units are present and they are bounded with the glycosidic bond, then that is called as a polysaccharide. Polysaccharides are ubiquitously present in the nature, in the environment and in our body. These are also called as glycans, and this is involved in the structural and storage functioning in a cell. It gives mechanical strength to the cell because when we store or when we make the structural part of a cell, then it gives mechanical strength to the cells. The monomeric subunits of a polysaccharides may be similar in structure, then these are called as homopolysaccharide. If the monomeric subunits are different in their structure, then these are called as the heteropolysaccharide. But both homopolysaccharide and heteropolysaccharides are included under polysaccharides, and they are very important for the structural and mechanical support to a cell. Now coming to the example of homopolysaccharide, the best example is starch. Starch is a branch structure. It's a storage form of the carbohydrate in our body. When we need instant energy, then this starch is mobilized and it forms glucose, and this glucose undergoes glycolysis, giving the ATP molecule or the energy molecule to us for our work purposes. The starch is formed by the monomeric unit of alpha D glucose, and it's the best polysaccharide including the homopolysaccharide having a similar monomeric unit. This starch is a mixture of amylose and amylopectin. Amylose and amylopectin are made up of same monomeric unit alpha D glucose, but their structures or formation is different, and when both amylose and amylopectin structures come together in a proper ratio, then they form the starch. Amylose is a linear structure, means it has linear structure having alpha D glucose as a monomeric unit, and glycosidic bond between the two monomeric unit is alpha 1,4 linkage. It is unbranched and the basic unit of the starch. The second structure is amylopectin. It is a branch structure having the monomeric unit of alpha D glucose, and the bond between the two monomeric unit is alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkage. But when a stretch of 25 to 30 monomeric unit is formed, then it forms the branching of it, and this glycosidic bond is called as the alpha 1,6 glycosidic bond, forming a branch structure. When a proper amount of amylose and amylopectin is formed and they are put together, then they form the starch. Thus, starch is formed by the mixture of amylose and amylopectin, the homopolysaccharide having the same monomeric unit of D glucose. Coming to the few more examples of homopolymer. The second example is glycogen. It is the major storage form of carbohydrate in animals, and it is highly branched. It is made up of amylopectin, and here amylopectin has branching at 8 to 10 residues of alpha D glucose. When we need energy, then this glycogen is converted into alpha D glucose, and then after glycolysis it gives energy molecule or ATP molecules to us for our work purposes. The third example is cellulose. It is most abundant biomolecule on the biosphere. It is linear and unbranched. It has the monomeric unit of D glucose. The monomeric units are joined by beta 1,4 glycosidic linkage, and it forms the structural organization of a plant cell, and it is very important for a plant cell. The last example and the fourth one is chitin. It is the second most abundant homopolysaccharide or the carbohydrate molecule present on the biosphere. It's also linear and unbranched, but the monomeric unit is NAG monomer, that is N-acetyl glucosamine molecule, and the glycosidic bond is beta 1,4 glycosidic bond. It forms a structural organization or the exoskeleton of insect and crustaceans, and it is also involved in the formation of cell wall of a plant. Thus, the homopolymers include, the best examples are starch, that is the storage form in the plants, glycogen, the major storage form of carbohydrate in animals, cellulose that is present in the plant cell for its structural organization, and chitin that is the carbohydrate present in the cell wall of the plant cells and exoskeleton of insects and crustacean. Now we will start with the heteropolymers. The heteropolysaccharides mostly include GAGs, that is glycosaminoglycans, means the carbohydrate moiety having the amino group. Most of the GAGs are negatively charged and they are present in animals and bacterial cell but not in plants. These are unbranched structures and the repeating unit, means one after the other unit that is repeated, is always a disaccharide, and it is the amino sugar, means the carbohydrate moiety or the carbohydrate molecule having the amino group. The simplest GAG or glycosaminoglycan is hyaluronic acid. It is also called as hyaluronan, and it is made up of D-glucuronic acid and N-acetylglucosamine. When this GAG or hyaluronic acid is hydrolyzed, it forms two subunits, that is D-glucuronic acid and NAG. But this hyaluronic acid is the simplest one and it is not attached to any protein molecule, because most of the heteropolysaccharides always has a protein moiety with it and form proteoglycans. This proteoglycan has the basic unit of a carbohydrate having a small stretch or 5 to 6 amino acids attached to it. So a heteropolymer is mostly a glycosaminoglycan or it is a proteoglycan having the protein molecule. Now coming to the example of peptidoglycan. Peptidoglycan means the peptide or the protein moiety with a carbohydrate moiety. It includes murein that is present in the eubacterial cell wall. It has a repeating unit of NAM and NAG, that is an amino sugar, and these are bounded together by beta-1,4 glycosidic linkage. When this disaccharide unit is formed, it is further bounded with a protein stem that has a stretch of 2 to 5 amino acid, and this protein stem is bounded to the NAM unit with its carboxyl group forming an amide bond. When this structure, protein stem with NAM and NAG, is formed, that forms a subunit, and this subunit is repeated a number of times forming the peptidoglycan. Thus heteropolysaccharide include GAGs, glycosaminoglycan and peptidoglycan molecules. Now we will study about few other molecules that are coming into the polysaccharides. Now what are glycoconjugates? Glycoconjugates means the carbohydrate part get conjugated with a non-carbohydrate part forming a basic structure called as glycoconjugate. A glycoconjugate has a carbohydrate part covalently linked to a non-carbohydrate part, that may be a lipid, that may be a protein or something else. A glycoconjugate is various types of compound where a carbohydrate is covalently linked with a non-carbohydrate constituent. It majorly include glycoproteins where the stretch or the core structure is a protein and a small part of a carbohydrate attached to it. The second is peptidoglycan, where the core structure is a carbohydrate and a small stretch of protein is attached to it. Third is glycolipid. Glycolipid, where the core structure is a lipid but a carbohydrate moiety is attached to it. The fourth one is the lipopolysaccharide, where the core structure is a polysaccharide or a carbohydrate but a stretch of a lipid or a small part of a lipid is attached to it. Thus glycoconjugates are the conjugates that are formed by a carbohydrate moiety bonded with a non-carbohydrate moiety. Coming to glycoproteins. Glycoproteins are the structures where the basic structure is protein and a part of a carbohydrate is attached to it. The carbohydrate may be mono, di, tri or tetrasaccharide, and the protein moiety is a long stretch of protein. Both carbohydrate and protein are attached together, linked together by covalent bond. But this covalent bond may be O-linked glycosidic bond or it may be N-linked glycosidic bond. O-linkage is formed when a monosaccharide unit has the anomeric carbon at first position and the hydroxy group of this first carbon forms a covalent bond with the serine residue of the core protein. Then this bond is called as O-linked glycosidic bond. But when the hydroxy group of first anomeric carbon of a monosaccharide is attached to the asparagine residue of a core protein, then the amino group is involved here and it is called as N-linked glycosidic bond. Thus, a glycoprotein is a structure where the basic structure is a protein having a part of carbohydrate. Both are linked together by covalent bond. That covalent bond may be O-linked or N-linked based on the bonding of oxygen or a nitrogen molecule. Thus, glycoproteins are over. What are reducing and non-reducing sugar? All the carbohydrates, when they react with oxidizing agent, they form aldonic acid, are called as reducing sugar. If a carbohydrate has free aldehyde group or it forms an free aldehyde group after isomerization, they are called as reducing sugar. All the monosaccharides are reducing sugar, while all the disaccharides except sucrose and trehalose are reducing sugars. The sucrose and trehalose are considered under non-reducing sugar because they don't have a free aldehyde or a ketone group that can react with oxidizing agent to form aldonic acid. They don't have free aldehyde group because the anomeric carbon of a sucrose and trehalose disaccharides are not free. It is involved in the glycosidic bond formation. When a disaccharide or a carbohydrate don't have a free anomeric carbon, then it cannot reduce an oxidizing agent or cannot form aldonic acid, and so it is called as non-reducing sugars. Now the carbohydrate topic is over, and in the next class we will study about lipids. Please like, share and subscribe my channel, and if you want to study a specific topic, you can directly message me in the comment box. Thank you.